Hello, everyone. Welcome to this evening's Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Yes, we're both here.
Unlocking Your Truth is a podcast about metaphysics and spirituality. And we are broadcasting on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley on CIVL from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation.
Yes,
and we're here from 7 to 8 p.m. every Tuesday, Pacific time. And in that same time slot, we also live stream the pre-recording of the next week's show on the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group and on my Leslie Phillips YouTube channel. And so if you're an avid listener and you enjoy the show, or even if you're here for the first time, then hop on to one of those places at 7 o'clock Pacific time on a Tuesday, and you can be part of the live studio audience. Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality, and every show we have a different discussion topic. Tonight, we are talking about the fifth chakra.
Yay!
And in particular, how might you know if your fifth chakra is functioning optimally, or if you may have some kind of blockage in the fifth chakra? So first of all, if you don't know, your fifth chakra is located near the cleft of the throat. And so often we point at a physical location when we're talking about a chakra, but actually it's not part of your physical body, it's part of your energy system and your energy body, but it is associated with part of the physical system. So all of the chakras are associated on a physical level with bundles of nerves called nerve plexi and with endocrine glands. So the fifth chakra is associated with, I can't remember the name, it's probably called the cervical plexus or something. Might have misremembered that name, but also with your thyroid gland, because as you might know, your thyroid gland is located right in that very same position. So the chakra is an energy center that is I like to describe them in a few different ways. On the one hand, it's a window of perception. So each of the main chakras relates to a different aspect, a different way of looking at the world, a different way of processing the world. So the fifth chakra is everything to do with communication. It is the communication center, the communication chakra. And of course, on a physical level, your voice, it relates to your voice, it relates to listening, it relates to speaking up and speaking out, being able to even speak, and all of that sort of area in that region. On a spiritual level, it relates to a whole bunch of different psychic abilities that all relate to the ability to communicate on a spiritual level. So, excuse me, I'm clearing my throat. One sign that you might have a blocked throat chakra might be that you clear your throat. So yeah, I mean, so if you're having issues with your fifth chakra, then you could have physical complaints. Like maybe you have a sore throat, or you have thyroid problems, or you have some issues with your hearing, or any number of things, or sinus problems would be another one. Those types of physical issues all would map to that fifth chakra relationship. And by the time something is a physical symptom, we've already been ignoring it. So your body will tell you will tell you when something is out of alignment. It will tell you on an emotional level. But if you deny that emotion, if you ignore that emotion, if you squash that emotion down, if you don't rebalance at that point, then the body is going to talk louder to you with some physical symptoms. So one way that you might know that you have a kind of a block or an issue at the 5th chakra level is because you've got some physical symptoms that map to that area of the body. Such as, like we were saying, a sore throat or laryngitis, you lose your voice completely. Or sinusitis, or hypothyroid or hyperthyroid. And I'm sure there are some other physical ailments that I haven't thought of. But you know, all of those things are going to relate to your 5th chakra. But all those things will have some kind of underlying physical, excuse me, underlying emotional thing. So on an emotional level, how might we be feeling? What kind of feelings might give us a clue that there is something going on? Well, a classic one is you might be afraid of speaking up and speaking out. You might be afraid of public speaking, or you might just be afraid of speaking up on any level, whether it's a group of people, whether it's one-on-one with people, a fear of speaking up and speaking out, or a fear that if you do speak up or speak out, people will ignore you, that you don't matter, that you're not important, that nobody ever listens to what you say to them. That can also be a sign that you are having something going on with your 5th chakra, a belief that nobody ever listens to what you have to say, people ignore you, that kind of a thing. Or you never really authentically express yourself. So you've got some feelings going on inside, but you dampen them down and you push them down because you don't want to offend anyone. You don't want to upset anyone. You don't want to trigger somebody. So you turn your own voice down. Those can also be signs of you causing an imbalance in your throat chakra. Lacking the confidence to speak up, being shy, being bashful, feeling like you're an idiot, feeling stupid, like you can't, there's no point in you saying anything because you're not going to say anything intelligent or say anything clever, or you're going to get it wrong. Fear of being judged by others. It's best not to speak up because every time I speak up, it doesn't go well because other people jump down my throat. There's a saying, they jump down my throat. They jump down my throat. And so they react, I trigger them. So best not speak up at all. And so it's a form of self-denial, can be. And some of this can be set up in our childhood. So if you're told little girls and boys should be seen and not heard, or don't speak unless you're spoken to, or go and sit in the corner and be quiet, or sit in the classroom and don't speak, put your hand up, and if the teacher allows you, you can speak then. Or you're a little chatterbox. You're a little chatterbox, known for just never shutting up nor always speaking. That's our little chatterbox. So all of those kind of things when you're young can lay down certain beliefs about who you are on the level of your voice, on your level of it being safe and comfortable for you to speak up and speak out. Now, there could be some other signs that are signs of an imbalance in your fifth chakra that might relate more to some of the spiritual stuff that goes on there. So hearing voices, but perhaps not understanding what those voices are. So hearing voices and listening to them and doing what they tell you to do without discernment, or hearing voices and talking to them in public, you know, in a way that's not connected with this reality. Those could also be signs of an imbalance in your fifth chakra. So that was a funny noise, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you hear that funny noise that I made?
That came out of your throat.
Having some symptoms of my fifth chakra of my own. So yeah, so feeling, feeling or being inauthentic, being unable to express yourself, and being a poor communicator, lacking in discernment about how you speak and what you say and who you say it to, being unclear about who you are and what your message is. And so just being one of those hothead steam blowers who, you know, what would you call that? I can't think of the name of it, but someone who's just speaking up to be noticed, but really loudmouth, yeah, inauthentic message, not really true to that person. Blowhards, yeah. Unclear on what your message is and what you really want to say and what you really believe. Listening to other people over yourself. So giving away your power on the level of your voice to others. Giving and receiving mixed messages. So yeah, not being super clear, but just giving confused messages to people so it's hard for them to understand you. And so there also could be symptoms like auditory hallucinations.
Oh, those sound like fun.
Yeah. And then we might get onto some other things that really then they're more a sign of this emergence of the psychic abilities in your fifth chakra, but you might think that they are a problem and a symptom of some kind. So sometimes people, when this energy center is opening up on a psychic level, would get symptoms like clicking sounds or Morse code-like sounds or high-pitched sounds, different frequencies that are annoying. Because why do I have this buzzing in my ears? Why am I hearing these dots and dashes or these beeps or these hissing sounds? And so one can think that there's something wrong with my hearing. One can think that this is a symptom of something else, but it might just be a phase that you are going through on the level of your fifth chakra as you start to raise your vibrational frequency, as you start to clear that chakra, that you start to become more sensitive. So another example is, I said inexplicable sounds. And then it may develop to something that is more like you start to hear your name, or hear voices but there's nobody there, or hear music, or have a song playing over and over in your head and the lyrics have a message for you, or being able to intuit what other people are thinking. These can be occasional things, one-off things that happen to you that you wonder at, that you marvel at, and yet they are actually a symptom of this energy center starting to open and awaken.
Brian says pressure changes in the air, like shifting from one side to another. Would that be considered what you're talking about?
I suppose it could be. It could also be a physical thing though, couldn't it? Like your eustachian tube being blocked or something, but it could be. Could be. Are we close to a break?
Yeah, a couple of minutes. I have a question though.
Sure.
What would being able to hear only when you have your mouth open be caused by?
Good question. That's a physical thing.
That's a physical thing. Okay. I'm just checking.
Well, I think it's a good, it's probably a good time to almost go for a break. Maybe I'll just read a little bit out of my book. So when you don't own your fifth chakra, life can be confusing. Too many vibrations, too many voices may overwhelm you. You may be confused about what's your authentic inner voice versus the many external signals being picked up by your various psychic abilities that are channeled through your fifth chakra. You may lack confidence, fail to speak up for yourself, or inadvertently express someone else's information. So not knowing your own mind and just churning out of pat what other people think, what other people believe, what other people say. So not really knowing yourself and knowing what it is that you believe. And at the extreme side of this, you could believe you are crazy. So yeah, because some of the symptoms of your psychic abilities waking up or an imbalance in your fifth chakra can feel that way. So I think we'll go for a break. And then when we come back, I'll talk about the psychic abilities that are associated with the fifth chakra. And the relationship between overcoming and transcending these blocks that you might be experiencing and the idea that on the other side of them are these amazing experiences and abilities.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth, everybody. We're talking about your fifth chakra, your throat chakra. And specifically, the show was about, what might be the signs and symptoms of a blocked fifth chakra. And we talked about that during the first part of the show. By the way, so I'm going to talk about some other things to do with the fifth chakra. Things that you might do physically, like clear your throat, or cough, or yawn, can be signs of you releasing energy so that you are clearing this energy center. So when it's blocked, for want of a better word, when you've got these issues, then it's going to be much harder for you to access the psychic abilities that are associated with this energy center. Because it's a bit like if this is a particular window into physical, into non-physical reality, you won't be able to see through the window. You won't be able to tune in through the window because there's too much in your way. It's like the dirty window effect. But the more you heal yourself, the more you clean the dirty window, then the more that your authentic voice can shine through, and the more that you can connect with some of the higher aspects of this energy center, some of the spiritual aspects of this energy center. And one fundamental one is called your inner voice. And your inner voice is basically how your higher being communicates with you and provides guidance. It's what people sometimes refer to as that still small voice inside. You know, they say, oh, your intuition. It's that still small voice inside, and it is a form of your intuition. It is your inner voice. And this voice sounds exactly like you, because it is you. So if you hear a voice talking to you that sounds like you, that's your inner voice. Because it's possible for you to hear voices that don't sound like you. And if they don't sound like you, that isn't you, right? So don't give them authority and power above your own inner voice. I think it's very, very important for us to be straight about who we are, to know ourselves, to really connect with our higher being and be clear, what is me? Because then we can be discerning about what other voices do I want to listen to? What other voices do I choose to listen to? What other voices do I resonate with? So not to be indoctrinated and repeat what someone else is telling us, to be a blind follower, but to always pass it through is it resonating with my inner voice? Am I truly in agreement with this or not? So your inner voice is a really powerful anchor for you. It is a guiding compass for you. It is a way for you to check in with yourself about anything, really, but whether you resonate and agree with something. So then that's one of the spiritual abilities here. The other one, talking about other voices, is clairaudience or clear hearing or psychic hearing, spiritual hearing. This is the ability to listen to, could be spirit guides, could be angels, could be other non-physical beings, could be God, could be Jesus, could be Archangel Michael. Other trusted voices. Also possible to hear voices that are perhaps not so trustworthy. And it's actually not just about the ability to tune in to the non-physical beings, but you can also communicate at a distance with a living human being through that clairaudience. So clairaudience is your inner voice is your ability to listen to yourself. Your clairaudience is your ability to listen to other voices. And we always want to say, don't give away your authority to those other voices. Always check in with your inner voice. And this is where, if somebody has a grounding in spiritual information, if somebody has somebody they can talk to that can help them understand it from this perspective, that's great. But if you're somebody where you start to hear voices, you could think that you were going crazy. And if you told other people about it, they could think the same thing. So often I think that this is the scariest ability for people. I'm hearing voices. That means that this, I'm mad. One of my favorite stories of this is many years ago, I worked in a particular organization, and the accountant went missing. She didn't come into work, and she was off for quite a long time. And when she came back, we said, well, where were you? And she said, well, I had some problems. I kept hearing voices, and the voices kept telling me to go shopping. So I listened to them, and I went shopping, and I maxed out my credit card, and I maxed out my husband's credit card, and I got the whole family into debt listening to these voices. So, sometimes the voices might be helpful, and sometimes they may not. And so part of it is to be able to be discerning and to keep your vibration high so that you're a vibrational match for more benevolent wavelengths of reality. But that's not it, folks. There is even more in terms of the abilities that are associated with your fifth chakra. So telepathy is another one. And we have what's called broadband telepathy and narrowband telepathy. They're different in that narrowband is one-on-one, non-verbal communication. And broadband is one-to-many, or many-to-one. So the difference between this and the clairaudience is the clairaudience can sound like language. It can be, a language that you understand. Narrowband telepathy it's non-verbal. It's more of a symbolic or a frequency-based communication. It is how animals and plants communicate, and people can do so as well. And then the final one is called pragmatic intuition or practical intuition. It's an everyday form of intuition that helps you to deal with everyday affairs. So that is, I don't know, you're minding your own business and then you go, oh, the phone's about to ring and it's my friend Sally. And then the phone rings and it's your friend Sally. That's pragmatic intuition.
I thought that would be precognition.
It's not precognition because Sally's in a way already thinking about calling you. She's reaching for the phone. She's dialing the number and you're going, oh, she's about to call.
Do you have another example of that? Pragmatic intuition? Or am I putting you on the spot?
Oh, I do, but you're going to jump down my throat and say, oh, no, that's precognitive.
No, I'm just curious. I'm just trying to clarify it for myself.
So another example I typically use is, let's say it's a sunny day and you get a practical idea to take your umbrella.
Oh, that I can understand, yeah.
And then 2 hours later, when you're out and about, it rains and you're glad you bought your umbrella. Yeah. Even though at the time your logic was going, well, it doesn't look like it's going to rain. Somehow you pragmatically know it's a good idea to take it with you.
Yeah. But if you were focused on the weather, if you're thinking about the weather, it's going to rain today, what's going to be like today? I wonder what the weather's going to be. Well, you know what? I should take my umbrella. Is that pragmatic or is that precognitive?
I would call it pragmatic intuition, but I don't have a logical explanation to satisfy your logical intellectual brain.
It's not my intellectual brain that's doing it, it's just curiosity, so that I can, call apples apples and oranges oranges.
So the precognitive ability is more about your sixth and seventh chakras working together to tune into almost like the quantum reality realm and the possibilities and the probabilities and the likelihoods of things. Pragmatic intuition is just practical, ordinary, everyday affairs.
Cool. Like taking a certain route to work. If somebody says, well, maybe I shouldn't go this way, I think the traffic might be heavy or something, so you take a different way and then you find out there was an accident or something.
It could be, or that could be a knowingness. So again, we, to talk about our psychic abilities, we sort of categorize them. But in a way, it's a whole system that works together, like your body. Yes, you've got an arm. Yes, you've got a leg. Yes, you've got eyes. Yes, you've got a mouth. But it's one body, isn't it?
Yeah. Except my knee doesn't work right now.
So are we close to another break, or?
No, we've got another 5 minutes or so, 6 minutes.
Okay, so the title of the show was, how do you know if you have a block in your fifth chakra? So those are some of the things that how you might know. How I might know is I can feel the energy flowing through it. How I might know is I can see the energy flowing through it. So as you develop your own psychic senses, then it's something that you're able to observe firsthand, right? You can tune in and look at the energy center. You can tune in and feel the energy flow, feel the spin, feel if there is something that is causing a block of some kind. You can look and see, is that energy center in balance? Do I have it focused on the past? Do I have it focused on the future? Is it in present time? Is it more negative? Is it more positive? You can tune into all of those things. And there are energy techniques that you can use to bring the energy center into balance. And using your spiritual abilities, you can read the growth cycle that is going on that particular energy center. So I talked about how you might know, but how I might know and how my students might know is different. So there is a different way that you can develop awareness beyond your ordinary physical senses, beyond your physical symptoms, beyond your emotional symptoms, and beyond your intellectual evaluation. You can learn to directly see and know and feel and hear what is going on in your energy system and what is going on with your chakras. And of course, that is what I really, really enjoy teaching people, how to be able to do that. Because that is you now in divine union with your higher being. That is you now channeling yourself. That is you now operating consciously as spirit in the body and interacting from that higher awareness with your physical and non-physical system. That's you becoming a conscious, awakened human being.
Must be fun or a wonderful feeling to watch your students get it.
I love it. It's one of the most rewarding things to see, to watch people go through one of my courses, especially my medical intuition course, which is a one-year course, but by the end of it, people are amazing healers. And we are healers that use our intuition, healers that use our psychic abilities to interface with energy. It isn't a modality, it is to be able to see energy directly and work with energy directly. So it's extremely rewarding. So I think we should perhaps go for a break and then come and answer some questions about the fifth chakra for people.
Going for a break, that would be good.
Hello, everyone. The show is going very fast this evening. We have a opening for the people who are listening live to comment, to ask their questions. I'd be happy to answer them now.
Well, there's not a question on the board. People are putting their questions up now. I have one, like, when did you start understanding, how do I put it? When did you get your understanding of the chakra system? Like, when did it click in? Because I mean, a lot of people, you hear a lot of people talk about it and they discuss it, and it just, it just doesn't resonate, right? How was it that it just clicked into you?
I don't think it was a single event. I think it was a process. But if I think just about my fifth chakra, which is what we're talking about this evening, I had certain experiences that happened to me. And one of the most profound ones was I injured my back. And I injured my back, so I had to stay off work. These days, the doctors tell you to move around, but then they told me to lie in bed for 3 weeks. And so I did. And I was lying in bed and I was hearing angelic music, like beautiful, otherworldly music, like just beautiful. You wouldn't hear it on earth. It just felt like the angelic choirs. And I was noticing it and sort of thinking, oh, that's strange. And then I was sort of sketching and I realized I was sketching angels. And then I realized I was listening to the angelic choirs. And as my back got better, like I remember one day I said, okay, I think I can walk all the way to the shop. And I walked to the shop and then my back felt like it was giving out. And I was like, well, I don't think I'll be able to walk back home. And as soon as I thought that, this really loud angelic music started playing in my head. And I felt like it is uplifting me. It is encouraging me. It is supporting me. It is telling me I can do it. So that was when my clairaudience started opening up, that I was hearing angelic music, I guess receiving healing sound bath from the angelic realm. And so, I don't know if that time I knew the word chakra. I probably did, but could I speak a teaching about the chakras like I can do now? Probably not, but that was my fifth chakra opening. So I had the experience of that, and I would have just explained it as, somehow I'm listening to the music of the angels without necessarily talking about a chakra. And I had other experiences like that. I was traveling on business and I was in a hotel in Germany, and I woke up in the morning to the most beautiful music I have ever heard. And standing at the end of my bed was an angel, and it was singing. And it was so beautiful, so beautiful that you cry, and how beautiful that sound is. And again, I didn't know why it was singing to me, why it was there. I was just having the experience of it. And then I had another experience a few years later, where I had, for actually quite a few weeks, someone else's voice listening to everything in their life. At that time, I did know what a chakra was, and I did clue in what was happening, and I did, shift it so I didn't have to listen to them anymore. So I would say, to answer your question, it's a gradual unfoldment, like my unique path. I eventually went to a psychic development school in London in the UK. I took a 1-year healing course there. I came to North America. I did some significant 6 years worth of intense training at a psychic development school. And so then I learned a language to talk about what I was experiencing. So it's been an unfoldment over many years.
Yeah, that's something I noticed about you, is the language that you use compared to other psychics that I've worked with. You use a very specific language that's not very common.
So you'd have to reflect an example of that, because I don't.
Oh, gee, I don't know. Well, you just said it yourself. You learned a language that goes along with that.
Yeah, like the word chakra.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
For example.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of some words, but ethereal comes to my mind. I never used the word ethereal before I met you. Now I use ethereal, which I like very much. Yeah. I had an interesting, I did a meditation. We did a meditation talking about chakras, and it was about talking, focusing on chakras and pulling in your guides to get questions answered or anything. And I pulled in my guides, and one of them said to me, says, I have a word for you, and the word is listen. And that's it. Listen. And came out of the meditation, and it was really, but it took a little while, and the only term I could use, it landed that listening is so entails speaking entails listening as well, that the two go together so strongly. And it was very interesting that I got that word. What do you think about that, Dr. Leslie?
Well, grasshopper, go and meditate on the word listen. 5 years.
I guess I go meditate on the word question.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's obviously very to the point, isn't it? Let's have a look and see what comes up.
Don't forget to get your questions in, folks, if you have any.
Well, when I look at that, one of the things that comes up for me is about being discerning about who you're listening to and what messages that you're receiving. So remember that, checking in with your inner voice. So listen to your own inner voice, listen to your own higher being, listen to your own guidance. And also allow others in by listening to their voices. I think that you have a tendency to protect yourself by not listening to what others have to say. And so I think you're just being invited to open up to listening more, to not immediately blockading what's coming in, because you don't want to listen to it, or you think that you know. Because, I know your guide is a teacher of love. Communication is love. Blocking communication is the opposite of love. allowing communication to flow by listening is a very loving act. By listening to what another person has to say and what they want to say to you is a very loving act. And truly listening in a way that you are hearing authentically what is truly meant, rather than passing it through the filter of what you are believing or thinking is going on. So I think there's a lot you can get out of meditating on the word listen.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay, we have a question from Lorraine. Thank you, Dr. Leslie. We have a question from Lorraine. Lorraine says, are some of the communications nonverbal, sometimes feeling an emotion?
So there is a psychic ability called clairsentience or clear feeling that relates to what you're asking about. That is an aspect of the second chakra. It's your ability to, and it's kind of nice that you brought that up, because remember I'm saying the inner voice in the throat chakra is how your higher being talks to you. The emotions of the second chakra are how your body talks to your higher being. So there is an interplay between you and your higher being at both the, well, at all the chakras, but in this context in particular, in the second chakra and the fifth chakra. So you express an emotion, it tells your higher being how you are experiencing your reality. And through clairsentience is how your higher being listens to you. Often people are listening to other people outside of themselves and their emotions and getting overwhelmed by them. And so can an intuitive insight come through your clairsentience, sensing an emotion? Sure, it can. You might sense that that person's afraid or that that person's sad. That's not of the fifth chakra necessarily, but it is a psychic ability. But and again, talking about one of the things I think a lot of people are blocked in is being able to express their emotions, being able to speak how they feel, you know, feeling safe enough to talk about how they are feeling. I think that's a very significant human issue. It's that connection between the second and fifth chakra. And back, linking that to Corey's question as well, because, well, nobody wants to listen how I feel. They will discount how I feel. You know, they will shut me down if I tell them how I feel. They won't listen to me. So it's I think that that's a really big problem for many humans. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Lorraine. And we have a question from Brian. And Brian's question is, what about minor throat interruptions? I know you mentioned the sore throat. I've had instances where I've had a dry throat where it bothers me, but it's brief. It's almost like just to get my attention. I've also had a moment where I thought I caught some kind of a conversation, but it sounded close yet far away. I've had some of this frequently, but fleeting, so I'm not sure what it is for sure.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's common, these sort of like fleeting experiences that, you know, did I imagine that? Was it a real thing? And I think that's very common, and it definitely can be a sign of your ability starting to open up. I'm just looking at the thing about the fleeting dry throat. Well, the first thing that comes up is, are you a bit dehydrated? Sometimes it might not be a psychic thing at all. It might just mean you need a glass of water. I'm not getting any significant hit about the dry throat. Just like have a nice cup of tea or a glass of water when you feel that way.
That's the British answer from British psychic. Have a cup of tea. Cup of tea fixes everything. It's wonderful. So you, I know that you mentioned meditate on it, Grasshopper. Any recommendations on that, on how to meditate? Or Brian says, well, I drink plenty of water each day. I know it sometimes happens when I'm eating too. LOL. Good.
Any recommendations on how to
On the
meditate?
meditation, yeah.
Like specifically on your fifth chakra?
Yeah. In 2 minutes or less.
Well, I think you could start with the free meditation on my website that teaches you how to ground center. But you can sit in a grounded, centered state with an awareness on your throat chakra.
Sounds.
And just
good.
see what you become aware of. Self-awareness is a big step, becoming aware of yourself. If you turn within and you focus on a part of yourself, you can become aware of it and start to realize what is happening within you. That's 2 minutes or less.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes or less. Well, Dr. Leslie, I guess we can call that a night and a show. Put that in the can, as they say, back in the day.
Okay.
Tapes went into a can, which they don't do anymore. Any last words of wisdom?
Well, listen, how often do we turn within and sit in silence? Our lives are so busy. It's like just carve out some time to sit in silence and just listen.
Yes.
And be aware. Be aware of yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie. See you next week.
Bye.